and welcome to the debate. My name is Naila, Shuja. Now, viewers, today we are going to be delving into the Apex Committee that was chaired by the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Shehbaz Sharif, and he stressed the urgent need to tackle terrorism as the top priority for Pakistan's stability, while also highlighting various economic reforms and security concerns. We're going to be taking a look at those, specifically the Apex Committee, which happened today, the 19th of November, and he stressed the urgent need to prioritize the eradication of terrorism for Pakistan's stability, citing the militancy rising in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Balochistan and Karachi. Furthermore, the worsening, which has been worsened by the Afghan Taliban, which has returned. That being said, the committee included the military and civilian leaders and reviewed the national security and the national action plan for counter-terrorism. Furthermore, Shehbaz Sharif highlighted the positive economic indicators such as the record stock market, as well as the single-digit inflation and the low interest rates, but warned that long-term progress requires continued investment. Further revealed that a major fraud of the attempted involving of the fake invoices and the emphasis on the importance of tackling the tax evasion was done. Now, the Prime Minister also called for various sacrifices from the elite and not from the underprivileged, and urged the political unity, asking parties to consider and reconsider their protest in the favor of the national development. Now, coming to the pivotal issue that is dominating our conversation today. It is the Pakistan political landscape, and founder PTI has urged his followers for the march on the 24th of November, as we know. And it is absolutely imperative to understand that various sources have revealed that Al-Yamin Gundapur did not allow the top political leadership to discuss various matters related to the Punjab, so much so that the transporters in the Punjab are not willing to provide vehicles for the transport to the protest. Now, with accusations of mutiny within the party and the logistical hurdles mounting, it is an aspect that we will be taking a look at as well. Now, the 9th of May riots were a watershed moment in the history of Pakistan's politics, and the protest that began under the banner of democratic dissent has escalated into unprecedented acts of violence and vandalism, as we all have seen and are aware of. And these attacks include the attacks on the military installations, which is absolutely reprehensible. Furthermore, Talal Chaudhary has stated that this will be the final rally, the final nail in the coffin of PTI's political party. And viewers, in our second segment, we are going to be delving into the latest developments of the Russia-Ukraine war, making it the 1,000th day with new escalations, including the missile strikes and the geopolitical shifts that are taking place. And we will be examining the impact of these events and the growing international ramifications. Starting off, I'd like to welcome our senior analysts who are joining me in the studio. Farrukh, Pitafi, a very warm welcome to you. Faisal, a very warm welcome to you as well. And our guest joining us online, Dr. Niaz, Murtaza, political analyst, and Mehwish, Munib, Kakakhel, advocate High Court. A huge welcome to you guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on the debate. Now, directing this understanding to you, Ms. Kakakhel, we know that Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has urged the political parties to review their decisions to protest amid the country's economic development in the Apex Committee that he's chaired today. How does the government really plan to address the political opposition while ensuring that the protests do not derail the country from the progress and the positive development that the country has started working towards?
Well, the thing is that being a political party, the opposition party, PTI, has the right to assemble. They can protest, and under the Constitution of Pakistan. But looking into the developments, they can give them a chance to protest and to assemble. But keeping in view that what they had done previously on 9th May, that should not be allowed, and they should come and assemble only to keep their points in front of the government, because right now, after the Trump has taken over in America, and after the elections, it has been, it is in their view that they might, take out Imran Khan from the prison, which is an alarming situation for the government, and they do not want them to bring him out. So that is the insecurity that they are facing these days. But as per the Constitution, they have a right to assemble, but they are not allowed in any way to bring damage to the state, and they are not allowed to do what they had done previously on 9th May.
Interesting take. Dr. Niaz, switching it over to you. What say you regarding this matter?
Well, I mean, I would echo what Ms. Kakakhel said, that, the PTI does have the right to, demonstrate peacefully. Then the question is whether it has, legitimate grievances around which, it's trying to protest. And there again, I think there are issues where it has legitimate grievances in terms of, the type of cases against its leaders, the fact that, many of them are just being kept in jail without any convictions, just based on the NAB law. So, to that extent, yeah, there are certain rights that the PTI has, but then it also has certain responsibilities to make sure that, the protest remains peaceful. More than that, as Farrukh Pitafi keeps, mentioning, the lives of the citizens of Islamabad should not get disturbed, because we have so many protests in Islamabad. It being, the capital city, obviously attracts a lot of, protests around various issues. So whoever chooses that path, they have to make sure that, first of all, there should not be any violence, and then, as far as possible, not to affect the lives of ordinary people. But then similarly, the government also has certain responsibilities to look at, the root causes of the grievances that, the PTI has, try to come up with, some sort of a solution. And I think dialogue is, the best way forward, both for the government, both for the opposition. I mean, 9th May was a very different environment. All of its leaders were free. At that time, it did not have, the same kind of legitimate grievances that it has today, especially after February 8th. So, and then all of its main leaders have either left the party or are in jail. So, if you look at, the last couple of protests that it tried to whip up, uh, they sort of ended within 1 or 2 days without, costing the same kind of damage that May 9th, or if you go back to 2014 long Dharna. But still, I mean, you never know what can happen. So I think the best thing is for both parties to come up to, some sort of a negotiated settlement.
Understandable, Dr. Niaz, but Faisal, understanding that the 9th of May riots were absolutely terrible and the attacks on the military installations, the public property that has been damaged, understanding the violent acts that really targeted and affected the political landscape of the country, the fallout has been extremely intense. The image of PTI has been, well, it's in front of you. Can the party recover regarding the situation and these accusations regarding the PTI? It's put itself in a very difficult and tricky situation. Could you care to elaborate?
Yeah, Naila, obviously when we talk about 9th May was a day when I have spoken before as well, and once again I would say that that was the day that should be marked as a red line, and it shouldn't have been crossed by any means by anyone who was out there that day. And I think time and again I have highlighted this, that on a larger scale there should be a judicial probe to that 9th May, and whosoever is involved in it, the dire consequences should be awaiting to them individuals or a group of individuals or whoever they were. They should be taken to task. When it comes to opposition protests, in any democracy, it's beauty of the democracy itself, and they should never be stopped as long as they are peaceful and they are meaningful and they are in the larger interest of the larger masses, and they should never be stopped. But when it comes to incidents in which property of the people or property at large, to me government properties are actually property of the people as well, because end of the day, Naila, it's your tax, my tax, and everybody else's tax that is used to, of course, create them properties of the government as well, because government eventually or state eventually belongs to people itself, and it is property of the masses, and that should not be destroyed. People who are in dire need of getting to hospitals, they should never be barricaded, and they should get an easy access to wherever they want to. And as I would agree with Dr. Niaz, when he has highlighted that Farrukh rightly points out always that the life of a common man is getting hurt, and that shouldn't be done because masses at large, they have nothing to do with whatever the political stances of a political party are, and somehow all of these boundaries, they should never be crossed. And if everything is in place and every aspect is being looked after by a political party, an opposition party, then it should be allowed. They must be welcomed. But before that, once again, I would agree with Dr. Niaz when he said that the best solution and more dignified solution is to sit on the table, talk about all of the grievances around there, and get to a solution rather than getting on the road and doing all of the fuss that we have been seeing that it was created in past as well. Eventually, there is an economic cost, and to a country like Pakistan that has always been facing economic consequences. To me, I think it is always better to get to solutions on the table rather than on the roads, so that we can, of course, do not hurt the life of a common man who's daily out there trying to search for his livelihood. And I believe the solutions are always around us with the talks. Government should initiate, or may it be the KPK government, or may it be the opposition itself, whosoever they are, they need to sit down and get to a solution.
Absolutely. So, Farrukh, I want to swing to you and just circle back to the Apex Committee. The Prime Minister of Pakistan stated in the committee that we have no choice but to crush terrorism first and foremost, and the mission is clear. Number one is to eradicate terrorism, number two, eradicate terrorism, and number three, to eradicate terrorism. That being said, he's emphasized that there is this choice to not crush, terrorism is absolutely imperative. What specific steps does the government need to take, and especially to achieve this goal? Furthermore, given the incidents in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, and given that Pakistan economy has suffered 130 billion US dollars in the fight against terrorism, how does the government plan to mitigate this economic impact of terrorism moving forward?
Right, and there's a reason why I'm smiling. Two of your guests actually have taken my name related to the previous discussion. I hope I'm entitled to actually talk about that as well, because PTI's protest on 24th is important, right? And of course, then we can talk about terrorism also. We have repeatedly spoken about terrorism. Revised National Action Plan is there, and you know which part is lagging behind and which part is not, right? Law enforcement is doing their job, and when it comes to political and civilian side, there is a lot of slippages, and somebody has to take care of that. But regarding PTI, and regarding what Dr. Niaz Murtaza said, and then Faisal also said, it appears that I am the only person who is actually talking about common men on the street in Islamabad. If with such a big civil society, with legal fraternity intellectuals like Dr. Niaz Murtaza himself, I am the only person. If Farrukh Pitafi is the only person who is talking about, I better give up and surrender to whosoever comes and does whatever they want. My humble submission was that I'm a taxpayer, I'm a voter, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I have not broken, consciously broken any law throughout my life. At dead of night, when there's no car there, if there's a red light, I actually stop my car. And this has been my entire life's method. Now, my biggest concern is that when I'm doing it, and nobody can accuse me of lacking in patriotism or a civic duty. But every time there's a protest in the city, Naila, I know I'm always on the receiving end. I have children who go to school, their school is repeatedly disrupted, I have to come to work. There are days when there is physical threat of violence when I am crossing through a jalsa or some kind of procession. So the question is, if the state of Pakistan cannot protect me, and give me this mental comfort. It should at least do two things. One, stop collecting tax from me, and two, stop asking for my vote because I don't matter, right? Otherwise, this protest, I don't understand. Yesterday also I said that we have the same kind of attitude. This is the fight of elites. They are like two parents, right? Whenever they fight, they take it out on their children. They beat their children to, red and blue and whatever. So with that kind of state of affairs, my concern is whatever you have to resolve, you can do it privately, do it. Today, there was some progress. The Chief Minister of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Chairman of PTI went and met with the founder of PTI for talks. Now the biggest problem with talks is that every time you talk about talks, PTI says that we are going to talk to army establishment, we are not going to talk to these politicians. Today, this is what has happened again. But there is two-member committee that has been constituted by former chairman of the party, and they have asked Gandapur and the current chairman of the party to go and negotiate with the establishment, but they have been given a deadline. They have been asked to sum it up or wrap it up by Thursday. So this is the story. At least there is some momentum, some movement. But my concern is every time you call for protest, and this time also, they have actually called for protest on 24th, right? And somebody was telling me that 24, 11, 24 has something to do with Muhurat as well. I don't know whether it has any kind of Muhurat or not. But I was told that, it is Sunday, so they are going to protest on Sunday. But that is not how it is going to unfold. They are going to actually start arriving in Islamabad in the later half of the day, and then it will roll over to the next day, and the next day if they want to go for dharna. So the purpose again is disrupting my life and yours. If I'm the only person who is raising hue and cry, then okay, let it be the way it is. Regarding terrorism, my concern is simple. There were pledges that were made when FATA, ex-FATA was merged with Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, that all the provinces, federating units, are going to contribute to the uplift of of ex-FATA region. Nobody has contributed. Nobody has carved up, right? And that is not all. We are talking about divisible pool. Similarly, modernization and equipping of police. Remember when Peshawar suicide attack took place, the police station or police line suicide attack. Immediately the first reaction, because those were the days when PTI was being removed from power, the people who came out and the policemen, essentially their bhartis, were protesting and they were talking about some kind of conspiracy theory. What has turned out? That one of the policemen was involved and he actually brought the whole house down. So the question right now is, are we serious in fighting terrorism? It is not solely the responsibility of the army, the law enforcement agencies and whatnot. It is also the responsibility of everybody else. If we are not going to come together, then we must actually say, okay, Taliban have taken over there, okay, most welcome, do whatever you want to, just don't beat up us badly.
Absolutely. Okay. Very interesting. Dr. Niaz, coming to you, understanding that the economy is stabilizing and there is various investor confidence that is coming to Pakistan and is regarding the SIFC investments as well. It's rising. It's wonderful. But some argue that these disruptions, specifically speaking of the 24th of November, might end up derailing the political aspirations or the economic aspirations that the government has set and targeted. What say you?
Well, I mean, it depends on the scale. Obviously, if you go back to the 2014 Dharna, yeah, I mean, it lasted 4 months in the center of the capital city, and it did cost, billions of rupees of losses. Now it depends on, what PTI can muster. And if you look at, the last 2 or 3 times they've tried to, do a similar protest, they haven't really lasted for that long, maybe 1 or 2 days. Those also have some costs. I mean, they do deter investors, and I know that a major economic conference was supposed to take place next week in Islamabad, and it had to get cancelled because of the Dharna. So there are costs, but then, I don't think they'll be as huge as in the past. But then there is also the fact that if there is even political instability without even violence, that also deters, investors, and there will be political instability even if this protest is called off. So I think it's important to, address the root causes of, the political instability. And if you look at what the demands of PTI are for this 24th protest, one of them is about, the cases and, the arrest of its leaders, which is, I think, a legitimate one. But it's true that PTI is not innocent in this regard. It had done the same to PMLN when it was ruling. Even the current prime minister stayed behind bars without any conviction for about a year, just based on that NAB law. And now the same thing is happening. So I mean, the revenge is the wrong way. So it was wrong then, it's wrong now. The other demand is about February 8th elections. That is also legitimate. There was a report by Fafan just 1 or 2 days back that 70-80% of the petitions are still pending. They were supposed to have been dealt with in 6 months, and there's just this back and forth between ECP and courts on the mere establishment of the tribunals, let alone them taking some decisions. And then the third one is about 26th amendment, the way it was done, the content. So in terms of just the demands, I think there are several legitimate points there. But then obviously you have to sit at the table and come to some sort of a give and take. That's what politics is all about. So the sooner this kind of dialogue starts, and it should be between political players, the government versus the opposition, and not non-civilian forces. So that would be the ideal thing, if they can develop sufficient trust, sufficient momentum on these are very important issues facing the country. And then beyond that, there is how to deal with terrorism, which is affecting KP so much badly. So dialogue is really the way forward, and I hope the government, because it has more responsibility, more at stake, will take some confidence building measures. Maybe release some of the leaders of PTI to set this right type of environment, and I hope then the dialogue can go ahead.
A very interesting point you've raised regarding their key leadership, but Mehwish, understanding that their recent protest planning has basically sidelined the key figures from the Punjab, and it's raising their questions about the internal unity. Does this exclusion of Punjab's leadership signify the weakening of the PTI leadership, and does it potentially undermine its ability to mobilize its supporters?
I would say to some extent, not really, because they're also the members of the party, and they need to be taken in confidence rather in taking the when they are going to protest, or when they are going to ask for their as Murtaza have said, they have to bring their points, and that needs to be negotiated. So in that terms, there is a need that all the members, all the leadership needs to be brought in on one table, and that needs to be discussed, and they needs to be taken in confidence, which is very much important for taking some important decisions. So I think there is a need that they may be taken in confidence before they move forward to Punjab.
All right. So Faisal, understanding that Bushra Bibi has basically put up a demand, and she's in a way demanding that the leaders of the members of the party bring with them a specific amount of supporters. How is that going to look, and how is that going to be seen around the world?
To me, I think the message itself, if it is from the ultimate leadership that is sitting in the jail, of course I'm talking about the former chairman Imran Khan, if that message is actually coming from him, then it won't create any fuss within the party itself, because ultimately when the Bibi was talking from behind the curtains, she actually said that whatever the message she's bringing straight from her husband, of course Imran Khan. And if this is the case, then of course there won't be any hue and cry from within the party, because ultimately, I mean, it is an open secret that the power hub, the grid station of PTI is Imran Khan himself. No matter whoever the chairman is outside, or no matter how many groups outside there are, or there are disgruntled people who are here and there, but of course still trying to associate themselves with the party itself, but ultimately even their decision whether they are part of the party or not, that still is with the only one man, because the charisma which the PTI of course boasts about, that charisma is only of a one man, because that man has a following within the youth bulge of Pakistan, and it is another open secret, and I think there is no denial to it. And to me, I think as long as the message, if it is coming from Mohtarama Bushra Begum, that message is obviously coming from that one man. But when when Naila coming towards what kind of course, implications we might be facing, earlier I was listening to Dr. Niaz, and he has rightly pointed out that of course it would create hurdles, and especially when we are seeing that government is doing its best to of course focus on economy and attract SIFCs, attracting FDI as well. In the same context, I would say the number 24, as earlier Farrukh has highlighted to me, I think the only importance it has is on 25th. We are expecting the visit of President Lukashenko from Belarus, and we shouldn't be forgetting that we have long-standing relationships with Belarus when it comes to economic relations, when it comes to our agricultural relations with them. In past, we have been recipient to the latest technology related to agriculture, and once more, as we know that SIFC is putting up efforts in increasing Pakistan's agricultural production. In that context, of course, that visit is going to be pivotal, and we shouldn't be forgetting that there is another relation that we have with Belarus, and that is related to in the medical field. Of course, there is a medicine exchange with that country as well, and there are many more fields in which, including the defense itself, in which we have our dealings with Belarus. So that visit is going to be very important, and just a day before that visit initiates, if people are coming on the roads, that would be another hurdle to our economic sector, our SIFC's efforts to bring in the money in the country itself. So to me, I think in that context, it is very important as well.
Okay, so Farrukh, so we have the founder PTI's sister, and then we also have his wife, who doesn't really hold any political chair or higher. She's not a member of the hierarchy, and she's basically using the 24th of November as a ticket opportunity. And then we have a man who's cried wolf multiple times. So understanding this internal strife, could we expect a similar outcome, or is this a diminishing role and they might unify at the end?
Follow-up question. Who has cried wolf many times?
Okay,
okay. Okay, I just wanted. I
knew Farrukh is coming to.
Yeah, I did not want to assume. Look, yeah. First of all this talk about a wife or sister actually cheering, and this somehow being objectionable is beyond me, right? When a party is, and unfortunately this is the case with our politics, is one person centric, when it is led or created by one person and eventually it evolves into something, those people who are associated with them carry weight. Remember that Asif Ali Zardari is the president of Pakistan. He was husband of Benazir Bhutto. Kalsoom Nawaz Sahiba great woman. She showed great leadership when Mia Nawaz Sharif was actually behind bars and was about to be actually either sent for life imprisonment or something of the similar sort. So I am not going to judge that. Actually, what I would actually worry about is not these women, right? The fact that Tulsi Gabbard is going to be now DNI of America, and the fact that a person like Marco Rubio, who tabled a bill against Pakistan only a few months ago, he is going to be Secretary of State, and those people are being celebrated by my colleague here. That is a bigger question mark in my mind rather than these things. But right now, what I have to concern about is that I don't actually share all these news Ali Amin Gandapur actually met with Imran Khan, or for that matter, Humayun Khan also met him. Gaur Khan actually met him. Where do I learn? I was not at Adiala. I hear all these things before coming to the program. We sit together, many journalists, beat reporters, editors and all, and we compare notes, right? Similarly, there is grapevine, and grapevine also includes this talk about pneumatology being a factor, 24/11/24 somehow. I don't know whether there is any substance to that, but what I hear, I share, right? The problem at this moment when you talk about PTI is PTI, if it understood what is the benefit of engaging with political class rather than the establishment. Remember, establishment of the country is always going to be fickle because people change. They have very refined, change process through which people actually stay only for a limited period of time. In politics, people are always there, right? When I was a kid, I used to hear the same names, and now they are ruling the country, or they have been there, right, for quite some time. So if Khan Saab or his party speaks to PMLN and People's Party, what happens? You get Charter of Democracy 2.0. That means who gets strengthened? Politics and democracy get strengthened in this country. If you keep on talking to establishment, you can get relief for now, but tomorrow once again you are going to end up here. Because tomorrow, if you get back to power, then somebody is going to use equally similar kind of methods to displace you and then come back to power. And where are you then? You're in your 70s, you're not younger, right? I'm in my 40s, and even I have to worry about my own mortality. Everybody has to. So these things are important. If you PTI's biggest problem is it had come to power for the first time. And it thought, because it is Ladla of some sort, it can break any rule. Remember the way vote of confidence was sidestepped, the way assembly was dissolved, the way the president vetted it, the way then Supreme Court actually threw the decision out and gave them some kind of, mulligan for that. And that continues. And the way they have been, the biggest problem is that they have allowed themselves to be used in a polarized battle between various elements. And their side actually lost on May 9th. Had they won, they would have been everywhere. And whatever is happening to these guys, far worse would have happened to the other side. And this is what, when you talk to them, they say the same thing. So what do you want to do? Do you want to continue the same kind of politics that we have been ad nauseum inhaling for past 74, 75, 76 years? Or you want to bring about something new? How does that happen? Naila, it happens through Charter of Democracy 2.0. So why not actually understand that politicians, whatever they might be, howsoever you disagree with them, if you are not going to sit with them, you are not one of them. And whenever you will come to power, somebody is going to say it is a hybrid system, it is some kind of plants, and you are not able to do whatever you want to. Why not actually bring about better politics? And this is the concern I have. I've been repeatedly saying this. PTI's worst enemy is PTI. Of course, PMLN's worst enemy has been PMLN, and People's Party also People's Parties, right? But at this moment, because we are talking about PTI, somebody keeps on giving them the worst advice possible. And every time, this must be something wrong with the instinct. They go for the wrong advice. When they were going for May 9th, here, we were sitting here and repeatedly I was saying, please don't do this. Before that also, remember, if you are pushed out of power, it takes 2 years for people to forget what happened, and then you are back in the system. For that, because you kept on fighting it with everything you got, you ended up in jail. And a strange kind of jail it is, because the cases that haven't even been opened. Yesterday I was talking about Afghanistan and court martial and all those things. If those cases start actually propping up in Pakistan also, popping up, then you will not have any place to hide, and I hope that doesn't happen. So with that kind of state of affairs, Naila, the humble submission I have is for PTI to actually rethink its strategy and try to realize that above everything else, it is a political force. No matter what the chairman's wife or the former first lady say about truth and haqq and Islam and haqq batil ki jang, right, and people being forgiven, the fact is these are not ethereal battles. These are mundane battles. And mundane battles have to be fought on the realm where we live, right? And dialogue is the best way to actually win.
Yeah, Naila, I just wanted to
course.
clear something. I never supported Trump because of his politics, or he might bring Tulsi or Rubio, anyone else under him. But I supported Trump throughout just because of one reason, because I wanted to celebrate good riddance of Joe Biden, that Joe Biden who actually created havoc in Middle East, and that was the only reason I supported Trump.
With Mike Huckabee as the ambassador, who believes Donald Trump has nominated him, and believing that Palestinians are not even people. I think that I improve.
I believe
but
Trump is still the most powerful man. When his regime comes, he's going to be the most powerful man. What he does, that would matter.
All right, understanding that. So we know that the Defense Minister, Khwaja Asif, has stated, and he's extended the olive branch towards PTI regarding this, and he suggested that dialogue is the way forward, as we've been discussing. Do we see that this dialogue could be attained or achieved? Do we see this happening in the future? Is it possible? Is it not, especially from the PTI side? Yes, Dr. Niaz, I'd like you to just wrap it up really quickly.
Well, I mean, you still hear this position from PTI that, they'll talk to the establishment. I don't agree with. I think they should look towards, talking to the political parties, and then the political parties all getting together for the sake of civilian supremacy, another charter of democracy, another charter of governance. I think that's the way forward for Pakistan.
Absolutely. So, Mehwish, what say you on this matter?
Ms. Kakakhel?
Seems like we are just going to be asking Farrukh regarding this. So what are your closing remarks on this?
I keep on actually, behaving as if I'm incorrigible pessimist. Actually, I am an incorrigible optimist. Unfortunately, there's this movie that I keep on mentioning, that is Music from Another Room, where the hero is a hopeless romantic, and the girl is somebody who really wants to believe in realism. In the end, when the boy actually gives up and he is going back, and all of a sudden she realizes he is the true love of his life, she goes and says, look, stop, where are you going? And he says, you were right. There's nothing such as romance. And in the end, she says, look what I've done to you. You sound like me. So at this moment, I think that whatever is happening is I've given up hope.
I hope not. I hope not. That is the end of our first segment. A huge thank you to our guests who joined us online, Dr. Niaz, Murtaza, and the political analyst, and Mehwish, Munib, Kakakhel, Advocate High Court. Now we're moving towards our second segment, which is basically discussing the big mess that current President of the United States, Joe Biden, is leaving for President-elect Donald Trump, as he will be joining the office on the 20th of January 2025. And this escalation is basically showing that Biden administration's approval for Ukraine to use the long-range ATACMS missiles. And that being said, with reports to North Korean troops deployed by Russia in nearby Kursk, and neither Ukraine nor the United States has commented on this incident, while the Russian authorities have stated that they have intercepted 5 missiles in the area, reporting no casualties or significant damage, though these claims remain unverified. And meanwhile, the Ukrainian forces have claimed that they've struck the Russian logistics center. Now, Faisal, understanding this whole dynamic, given your stance on President-elect Donald Trump, how do we see this unfolding, especially right before President-elect Donald Trump is going to be taking the office?
It's very devilish of the current regime to keep piling up the mess for upcoming president, obviously President-elect President Trump. And of course, the kind of rapid sort of escalation, the ideas of escalation they are coming up with. Of course, this would be a wrap-up time for as soon as the president-elect comes into the Oval Office. The very first decisions he would be taking, these would be related to this escalation, and that is why we have been seeing that all of the contracts which were initially halted by U.S. to Middle Eastern theater, they are simply giving it away to Israel to bomb more places in Middle East. So this is another escalation which is of course piling up. The work is piling up for the upcoming President Trump. At the same time, I wanted to obviously correct that when we talk about the missiles which were fired by of course Ukraine itself, these missiles were not supposed to be allowed to be fired by Ukraine. Otherwise, it would have been considered as escalation, which is being seen right now. And at the same time, Russians, they have countered these. That is why they have used the word debris. That these obviously missiles in the air, they were countered by their S-400s. And when we talk about another statement which is coming from the Western theaters, and that is of North Korean troops. They are in of course Russia, and they are actually being sent to Kursk, which has been seeing inclusions by the Ukrainian side. But according to my knowledge, which is being given to me with the evidence, is that all of these soldiers who are from North Korea in Russia, they are out there just for the training purposes, and they are training with the Russian soldiers at their training bases rather than being on the front lines. So to me, I think the situation is quite clear. There is no escalation from the Russian side, whereas if we talk about Ukrainian side, especially with this current push from the Joe Biden to Zelensky to push these missiles towards Russia, it actually is an evidence that they direly need an escalation, which is not only bad for the region itself, but the whole world. It is bad, and to obviously President Trump, it is worst, and that is why I see him, as soon as reaches the Oval Office, he would be deciding about this.
Very interesting take. Farrukh, coming to you, understanding the implications that the war in Ukraine is really drawing attention globally, and understanding this dimension, how can it be the world is looking for the aspect or the element to de-escalate this tension between the Ukraine and Russia? Diplomatically speaking, how is the United States of America and other even regional countries going to be taking a look at this matter?
All right. Thank you very much, Naila. I think that you have overestimated my intellect. that repeatedly you keep on asking me for the solutions that the world has failed to find for 2 years or more, right? But regarding this recent move that has actually given the contingent, has proven to be the contingent factor of our discussion today. Even I am going to say that it is a dumb move. But listening to Western media, as if somehow, World War III is now imminent and there's going to be nuclear war or something. I mean, come on, this is the world of adults, right? President Putin is a smart man. President Zelensky is so smart, by the way, that when he went and met with Kamala Harris, he also went and met before the election with Donald Trump, right? And by the way, these two countries have been such a big subject of discussion in America that Donald Trump's first impeachment was caused by the interaction between Zelensky and President Trump, right? And it was about whom? Surprise, surprise, Joseph Biden, right? So all that talk and everything, that is quite interesting.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows that in coming days Donald Trump is going to come. So they're not going to escalate beyond the verbal war or some kind of theatrics.
Of course.
But in the end, yeah, I know you want to conclude. I just want to add that in the end, when it comes to territory, I don't think that Donald Trump is going to commit to removal or surrender of territory, but there is going to be some effort to de-escalate and then also withdraw some kind of sanctions from Russia. This is all I know at this moment.
A very interesting take. Well, viewers, that was today's show, and we were discussing the war in Ukraine as it marks the 1,000th day, and the recent escalation underscores the deepening complexity of this conflict. Well, viewers, that's the show that we have for you today. A huge thank you to our senior analysts here in the studio, Farrukh Pitafi and Raja Faisal, and a huge thank you to you guys for tuning in. This is The Debate here on PTV World. My name is Naila. Shuja. Take care.